Very happy to introduce our next two talks. In room 2, it will be getting the best of COVID-19 for data. And in this room, I'm happy to introduce Madison Musgrave from Maxar Technologies, talking to us about open data for disaster response.
Great, thank you, Lily. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. And you can see my screen okay?
Also, yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lily. Good morning, everybody. Hello from Colorado. My name is Madison Musgrave, and I am the Sustainable Development Goals Specialist at Maxar Technologies. And I'm also the coordinator of our Open Data Program, which is what I'm here to talk to you all about today. And I'm really excited to be here and as a part of this HOT Summit. HOT is one of the partners of the Open Data Program. So I'm always happy to be here and support any events that they are a part of. So I just want to give a quick overview of the Open Data Program for any of those of you that might not be familiar. So we are currently in the 4th year of our program. We have activated for 10 to 20 events in each year of the program. This year so far, we have activated for 16 events, totaling over 213,000 square kilometers of imagery being released through the program. There's no maximum amount of events that we can activate for. We have an internal protocol that we follow, and as long as the events meet those delineations, then we can activate for them. So when we created the program, we really had two goals. We wanted to be able to provide geospatial data more quickly to those that were responding to natural disasters on the ground. And we also wanted to create a community of excellence for those that are utilizing geospatial data for disaster response and disaster management. So the imagery and data that we release through the Open Data Program really helps to meet a multitude of needs in the community. It helps those that are on the ground responding in the aftermath of natural disasters. It helps those that are doing analysis to understand the scope of natural disasters. And it also helps those that are planning for disasters in the future and doing disaster management. So the types of events that we generally activate for are sudden onset natural disasters like hurricanes, earthquakes, and wildfires. Those sort of quick happening weather events. But we also do respond to events like the current COVID-19 pandemic or the Ebola outbreak in the DRC and surrounding countries a few years ago. So as I mentioned before, we do have this internal process and a whole committee where we determine whether or not we will activate for events. And if you're interested in reading the entire activation protocol and seeing the whole process that we go through, that entire protocol document is available on the Open Data site for download. So once an event has been activated for, we begin looking for satellite imagery over the affected area. So at a minimum for every event, we will release pre and post-event satellite imagery. This imagery will be delivered as 3-band pan-sharpened imagery with some other post-processing applied to provide the clearest image to those that are downloading the data. And it will also be posted as cloud-optimized geotiffs to make it easier for those that are utilizing the data to download. The data remains on the site in perpetuity. So if you're interested in doing analysis, looking back at earthquakes, hurricanes, wildfires, those sorts of events over the past few years, you can go and look at all of the past events on the site and do that analysis. And when we have it available and we are able to release it, we will provide other sorts of data to the site, like building footprints, heat maps, flood layers, weather reports, those sorts of things when we have them available. And a really important thing to note here is that all of this data is licensed under the Creative Commons Open Non-Commercial License with a stated OSM exception, meaning that you can use it and put it into OSM. So the full license text is available on the site if you're interested in reading that in more detail. And also always happy to answer any questions about that. So as we all know, this has been a unique and challenging year for many reasons. Not only are wildfires burning longer and over larger geographic areas than ever before, We're seeing more hurricanes and more tropical storms than in past years. We're also living through this crazy global pandemic. And when things were really ramping up at the beginning of the year, we knew that we wanted to respond to this event through our open data program. And we also knew that we wanted and needed to do something different than how we responded to other events. So we decided that we would release our metro area base map mosaics rather than our satellite imagery strips. These are cloud-free seamless mosaics over major metropolitan areas all around the world. And we felt that this would be a great base layer for those that are doing analysis on how best to respond to the pandemic. And it would help organizations that are working on the front lines to respond more efficiently and more effectively and more quickly. So the cities that are listed on the screen are the first cities that we released this imagery over, but we have added more cities to the site. This imagery could be used for a multitude of purposes. It could be used to determine the best area to set up a field hospital. If a helicopter needed to land to deliver medical supplies, you could locate a field or another landing area in the imagery. You could study dense metropolitan areas to better understand how to implement social distancing measures, or you could understand and measure how far people are located from medical facilities where they may receive care or supplies. And so the last thing that I wanted to highlight here is how the government of Sierra Leone was able to utilize the data that was available through the Maxar Open Data Program in their COVID-19 response. So after the pandemic began, the government of Sierra Leone set up a COVID-19 emergency response center that partnered with internal government organizations as well as external groups and development agencies like the UN Economic Commission for Africa and Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data, as well as industry partners like Maxar, Imagery, Grid3, and Frame. And this coalition created crucial geospatial data sets under an open non-commercial license to help support the government of Sierra Leone in their COVID-19 response. So the most recent census in Sierra Leone was taken in 2015. So the government really needed updated geospatial information to better understand where their citizens lived, how many people lived in each town, and to understand the transportation routes between these major metropolitan areas. And this data helped to identify those that were most at risk for transmitting COVID-19 and helped the government determine the best ways to allocate their resources in response to the pandemic. And so at the core of this data set, the underlying thing was Maxar's satellite imagery that was released through the Open Data Program. And this imagery was used to identify high mobility areas to inform how to enforce lockdown measures to help to contain the spread of the virus. And Grid3 was also able to use this imagery to create population estimates so that the density of people within the districts and between the districts could better be understood to also inform those lockdown policies. And so that's what you see on the left side of the screen are some of the population density maps that Grid3 created. And on the right side is satellite imagery captured from our GLI satellite in January of this year over both Sierra Leone. And so I just wanted to highlight this because I think I generally talk about how we use data through the Open Data Program in natural disaster response, but this is a unique type of disaster, and I just think it really highlights the power of geospatial data and satellite imagery. And so with that, my really quick talk is finished. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm always happy to talk to those in the HAWK community and the OSM community to get feedback on how we can improve the Open Data Program. So please reach out to me at my personal work email or our Open Data inbox. If you're interested in being alerted anytime new data is added to the Open Data site, please visit the website at maxar.com/opendata and scroll to the bottom. There's a short form you can fill out, and you'll be emailed every time there's new imagery or data added to the site. So thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Madison, for a wonderful talk and for answering the questions already.